guys, welcome to a special live shot of Steelers. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, soon to be joined by Chris Halleck, our beat writer who's out in Latrobe and who just posted an exclusive story on top of our app and website. And if you haven't seen our app or website, and I'm not talking about YouTube or anywhere else that we happen to put our content, video content, I'm talking about our actual site, DK Pittsburgh Sports, you will see a headline across the top that says that the Steelers will not be trading for Terry McLaurin. And I know that's something that had a lot of people, all stoked up and everything, because you're picturing you have all of these wide receivers and tight ends and everything else. And the next thing that happens is you add Terry McLaurin. As I've been saying all week, no matter what came out of Washington regarding McLaurin, and this is a wonderful football player, by the way, no matter what came out of there, you only have X number of targets. You only have X number of plays and sequences. And yeah, it's a dream to have, guys flying all over the place and executing as if they're a machine or something. But it's not really all that feasible. So when Chris comes on, I'm going to ask him to elaborate for you on the information that he got this afternoon. I'm not going to tell you where he got it from, and neither is he. But I'm aware of it, and you would not question that particular source. We have all kinds of other material to be covering today as well. There was a practice already today. There's been injuries, injury updates. There's been Friday Night Lights since the last time we got together. There's a lot going on. There's it's football time, and at the same time, a week from today, Chris and I will both be in Jacksonville, Florida, covering the first preseason game. So everything takes on additional urgency. Dave Shipley says that the notification was way late, so I'm behind. I believe. Don't complain to us about YouTube technical things. I can start with that on especially on a program like this. We have enough issues with our own app and our own website. We don't need to manage Google's products as well. Useless Knowledge says, I may go to that Jaguars game. Okay. Jim Pekarsky says, it sucks that Trice can't stay healthy. Anybody who knows my history as a reporter, columnist, commentator, whatever you want to, whatever tag you want to attach to me, I'm really cringy about the injury-prone label. But what ends up happening to some is that it just keeps occurring. It can be this, it can be that. And when it's soft tissue, as it is with Trice, in this case, it's a hamstring. That's tough, man. There's not really, because the coaches have no sympathy for you. None. No matter who you are, if you have a soft tissue injury, they see it as your fault for either not conditioning yourself properly, not stretching, not hydrating, and they don't put up with it. I believe we do have Chris now. Let's see if we can get a nod from him over there. Maybe, yeah, we do. Okay. We're adding to stage, or the boss is taking care of that. There he is.
What's up?
And we can hear him too. Chris, why don't you go ahead and elaborate here on your own? All I did was kind of like read the headline as to, what the situation is with Terry McLaurin. And, on top of that, a little bit of background as to how it is that you come across a story like this.
Yeah, this is why we cover the team on site, because you have access to be able to talk with anybody. And people that are very, very trusted within the organization. So that's why we cover the team. That's why we go where the team goes, whether it be to Latrobe, Pennsylvania, or to Mobile, Alabama, or to Indianapolis for the combine, or anywhere where they actually play football. But yeah, so this, obviously the situation when it becomes known that Terry McLaurin submitted a trade request, Omar Khan's going to pick up the phone. I don't even have to reach out to any sources to get that answer. I already know.
That's common sense. Yep.
Common sense on that one. But am told that, yes, Omar Khan did in fact reach out, but that through what they learned, that this is not something that that's expected to happen for the Steelers. The number one reason is McLaurin wants to be a number one guy wherever he goes. Kind of hard to do that when you have DK Metcalf on your team and you're paying him $150 million over the next 5 years. So that alone kind of Steelers are moving on. So that's pretty much all there is to it. The salary cap situation, paying him, that wasn't a concern at all to the Steelers. They were gonna figure that out. But when McLaurin says, I want to be the number one guy, and the Steelers are committing $150 million to DK Metcalf, that's not going to happen.
The other thing that you have to think about, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form augmenting your report there or presuming that this is something that became knowledge, but the other thing that you have to think about is when the player's priority is I got to be number one, as opposed to if I join that team and we are that loaded, I might win a Super Bowl. I'm not sure that I want that guy on my team. Now, again, I'm totally just pulling this out of nowhere, okay? But that has to be a factor. And this is one of the reasons why you can't build your roster like a video game, Chris. You have to have people who fit into certain places, certain roles, including on your depth chart. Just as a really peripheral example here, if you want to have great special teams, you couldn't have the 15, 20 best guys in the NFL on those special teams because they would see it as beneath them. They wouldn't put the same passion in it, the same effort, the same energy as, let's say, for example, Ben Skoranek or Miles Killebrew, okay, or Connor Hayward. These guys who just live for this, who commit themselves to it. Everybody has a spot. Everybody has a space. And if you have a player who comes in and says, well, my priority is my space, you tell them, stay in Washington, or go get a contract in, I don't know, Cleveland. But you go be their number one. That's just me.
But to your point, it does make sense. Now, the one thing that can always change this entire situation, including with Terry McLaurin, is if DK Metcalf goes out into practice at all, throughout training camp or in the preseason or anything, and he gets injured and it's going to be a significantly long injury. That could change. That could change. Again, that not only their pursuit of potentially other receivers, but even their pursuit, or they might pick the phone back up and say, "Hey, we might be a little bit more interested in possibly making McLaurin a guy." Whatever. But you have an X receiver and a Z receiver and whatever for a reason. They play different roles. And right now, yes, you'd like to have some guys who are a little bit more versatile, where if DK Metcalf does go down with an injury, Calvin Austin's not becoming your primary guy, or Robert Woods isn't becoming your primary guy, or Roman Wilson, like that type of guy. But it's the same situation as it would have been with DK Metcalf and George Pickens. It says Austin is a perfect fit. Yeah, I mean, he could be. He absolutely could be for what the Steelers need on the other side, especially when you consider what they have at tight end. When you bring Terry McLaurin into the mix, yes, you have a lot of just sheer talent. And yes, McLaurin and Metcalf are both consistently productive. That's the one thing you can say about both Metcalf and McLaurin. Played in the league for 6 years. He has 5,000 yard performances. DK Metcalf has had consistently over 100 targets every single year he's played. These are very consistently productive players. But how does it work when there's only one ball to go around? And that's a big part of this too. And I still think the Steelers were like, we'll figure that out. We'd rather have the talent, but whenever you're told Terry wants to be the number one guy, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, because there's other priorities at play there, not least of which, as one of our commenters just pointed out, is money. If you're out there motivated, there's one thing, you could be motivated by money as long as it's not number one on your list. Okay, there's nothing like that here. Travis says we have to have a juju to the AB for DK. Well, that kind of worked and that kind of didn't. Rookie juju worked for a little bit, and they didn't get along, and it ticked off AB. And anyway, that's another story for another day. That's already in the past. Chris, I'm looking for, I had a question here that I queued up for you here. Yeah, it comes from Mike here, who says, Chris, from your reporting on our site today, again, that's on DK Pittsburgh Sports, not on YouTube or anywhere else here. It's on our app and our website. From his live reporting on the practice that played today, that played out today, it sounds like Will Howard had some big moments today. Could you discuss that a little bit more?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good day for Will Howard. Now, Aaron Rodgers had a vet day off. He was in sweats. So, like, a lot of vets today. I mean, I noticed a few early on, but I mean, like veterans, like
a
just
lot of
having a day
veterans.
off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the practice the night before, that's common sense too.
I mean, it was Aaron Rodgers. It was DK Metcalf, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Patrick Queen. Like, all these guys are just – so it was a lot of reserves playing, or guys who are going to be reserves playing, guys who are fighting for roster spots. And so thus Mason Rudolph played a lot more. Will Howard played a lot more. Skylar Thompson finally got in on 7 shots. But for Will Howard, I mean, he had a couple of throws that were like I would call NFL throw. He had one to Pat Freiermuth on a corner route. It was a little high, but it was one of those throws that had to be a little high. And when you have a tight end that you can trust in Pat Freiermuth to go up and get a ball, that's where you put it so that only he can be the one to get it. And I thought it was a really nice throw. He had another moment where they ran a read option and he kept it because the entire defense didn't think that Will Howard was going to be keeping the ball. And he not only tucked it and ran, but
he
ran
off.
past guys. Like he ran. Yeah. And so the crowd loved that one. And he had
they love him.
They sure do. He had some other nice moments, some other nice throws too. I thought it was probably one of his best throws. I don't think that it's necessarily an accident because he had the most number of reps. So that, I don't think that's an accident that happened. But at the same time, this is just practice at training camp. There's a lot of stuff that goes on between the ears that still needs to develop. So let's not just
that'll
say,
take years.
Be the franchise quarterback.
Yeah, that'll take years. And speaking of somebody who has years, who also got an extra opportunity to get some more reps in, Ground and Pound asks, does Mason Rudolph look like he should be the number 1 quarterback again this year during training camp? And Ground and Pound is referring to something from a couple of years ago whenever he actually outperformed Mitch Trubisky, and it didn't matter to anybody. They were going to go with Mitch no matter what. In this camp to date, I would describe Mason as going about his business. I think he has made the throws that he's supposed to make. He has gotten some really good things done. He's got some good reads, especially on 7 shots. Down in tight, he's made some things happen at the goal line. I'd also say that the stuff that you're looking for that makes your offense special, that really rises up, most of that has been done by who you would expect it would be done by, and that would be Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. To answer the question directly, no. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the number 1 quarterback. He looks like a number 1 quarterback. He's making throws that nobody else on the field can make. It doesn't mean Mason Rudolph looks bad. I've thought Mason Rudolph has made some.
Yep.
I thought that Mason Rudolph has looked a lot like, in terms of the types of throws that he's making, standing in the pocket, he's looked a lot like the guy that we saw
in
running the offense at the end of 23. But of course, people are going to hear that and be like, he had a 120-something passer rating. Then that is a number 1 quarterback. Well, again, it's during training camp. It's a lot of this has been without pads on. So not a lot of live stuff, and we haven't even hit a preseason game yet. So let's pump the brakes on anytime somebody makes a good throw. Yes, that includes Aaron Rodgers, but also with Aaron Rodgers, it's also a lot of the stuff that's happening pre-snap. It's communication. Aaron Rodgers is the guy, and everybody who's speaking about him, I mean, they're glowing that Aaron
they're
Rodgers
raving. Yeah, they are. Yeah. They are. It's been a while is the thing that I keep hearing from everybody when I'm out there. It's been a while. It's been a while. And they're referring back to, good Ben. Jim Shivers asks, how was practice last night, meaning Friday Night Lights at Latrobe Memorial High School? Chris was out there for us. Was it good, or do the Steelers look like they need a lot of work? Well, Jim, there's that practice and there's this practice. So they are now 2 practices closer to letting you know whether or not they look good or they need a lot of work. And the answer, from the stuff that I've seen, is that it's a little bit of both.
It is a little bit of both. But the one thing that you can pretty much always count on at Friday Night Lights is that the energy is just going to be different. It is a different practice from all of the other ones at training camp, even more than the first padded practice, which is always looked at as like this marquee event of training camp. Friday Night Lights, it's a different energy. It feels like the players are competing like it is a game, especially like during team drills. Like it does feel. And I don't know if it's just because it's the environment. I mean, there were over 13,500 people there last night from 36 states, Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, 4 other countries. Like, there's so many people there. And it does feel like you're watching a football game especially when they're doing like 11-on-11, and the energy is always insanely high. But yeah, they still need some work. The run team looked a little bit better, but it still needs work. I still need to see more from other wide receivers to think that, like, okay, if DK Metcalf were to somehow go down, that they'd be somewhat okay. There's still some work to be done, but that's expected at this point in camp.
Captain Crunch points out that the constant updates on the DK Pittsburgh Sports app while practice is happening is really fun to look for. I hadn't taken advantage of it till the other day. I recommend it. We appreciate that. I know the guy over to my side there appreciates it because he's been the one the past couple of days hacking everything out with his thumbs. That you should know that. He's standing on the sideline hacking the stuff out with his thumbs to make sure that you get it as fast as possible. I'm not trying to sell you anything because our app and our site are free, but there is another level to it. If you subscribe, you get, I'm going to start confusing everybody here because subscription sounds like YouTube. You become part of our community, the DK Pittsburgh Sports one. It's on the app, and you comment and you get no ads and all that stuff. It's a really good scenario here. Fall Legend says that a fast release doesn't matter if the receivers can't get open fast enough. I'm not sure which wide receivers, or for that matter, which tight ends, you might be concerned about being able to break off the line of scrimmage very quickly. Yes, Rodgers does move the ball quickly. He certainly did in New Jersey last season. That was one of his main traits, actually, that kind of stood out from the past, where he's not looking to get all laborious the way Russell Wilson did. He wants to get it and get rid of it. At the same time, I'm trying to think who would have a tough time getting off the line with this group. I'm not feeling that.
No, I mean, Calvin Austin's obviously very quick off the ball. Roman Wilson is pretty quick off the. I think the biggest concerns with Roman Wilson is coming in or going in and out of breaks. I think that's the biggest thing there, especially when he's trying to win on the outside. Scotty Miller's obviously very quick. Ben Skoronek's obviously a little bit of a bigger type receiver, so he's not going to beat you with a lot of speed and quickness. But he's got size, and he can, size up a lot of corners and defensive backs. But yeah, I mean, sure, there's some truth to it. Just because you can, win at the release doesn't mean you're going to win coming out of a break. Defensive backs are really good in the NFL, and they can catch up. So, yeah, you have to be good, and not just at the release, but also when you're getting in and out of breaks too.
We as a community need to start coming up with appropriate, if not necessarily amusing, punishments for anyone who asks either me or Chris if we're going to be at a Steelers game. This has to stop. This has to stop. We don't miss games ever or anything. We are as a staff at all of these things. That's how Chris was able to get his exclusive today. This is the way we do stuff here. We're not going there to go, hey, look, we're at the game. We're going there to do work. We're going there to get information.
That's not typical of YouTube
for you. And that's something I get that with YouTube and content creators and stuff like that. That's not the norm. Okay. It's usually but we are professional credentialed reporters. I'm not making it sound like we're on some higher plane of existence. I'm saying that that's just the type of programming this is. I'm sure the other stuff offers stuff that, the other types of programs probably offer stuff that we can't do. or wouldn't do here. On that note, Micah Pendergrass wants to swing us back to the beginning of the show, which is fair. And we started 20 minutes ago, so Chris came on board with exclusive reporting about the Steelers' interest level and likelihood of acquiring Terry McLaurin, and I'll let Chris do a brief retelling of that.
Yes, the Steelers, no surprise, once Terry McLaurin makes it known that he's requested a trade, the Steelers reached out and learned that Terry McLaurin wants to be a number one receiver. And so that's just not happening. Salary cap situation wasn't a concern for the Steelers. They were going to try to figure out a way if there was a potential pathway toward a trade, but
which is telling unto itself, isn't it? Think about that.
It really is. It really is.
Just knowing that they could have carved out the cap space tells you a lot about what they can still do.
Exactly, because granted, like when you look at Terry McLaurin's cap hit for the upcoming season, it's $25.5 million. The Steelers would not be taking on that entire cap hit because signing bonus is always held onto by the trading team, not the team that's acquiring. So it would have been a lesser cap hit for the Steelers, but either way, it still would have been a pretty sizable cap hit. But with a new contract and everything that would come with that, there was no concern whatsoever about fitting him under the cap this year or in future seasons. The fit concern is about Terry McLaurin wants to be a number one receiver. The Steelers have a number one receiver in DK Metcalf. They're not going to move away from that after they just gave him $150 million over the next 5 years earlier this offseason, right after they acquired him. So this is not a situation in which it's just going to be a fit for the Steelers. So the Steelers are moving on. And if I can add a little bit more depth to that, the Steelers, I'm starting to get the feeling, based off of conversations that I'm having, that they might not add anybody before the beginning of the season. I'm really starting to get that feeling.
You mean anybody at any position?
I'm talking about receiver.
Oh, okay. You're talking about WR2.
I mean, talking about that.
You're going to have to see people solidify their statuses who are within the fold. I think that would probably be the top priority within the framework that you're describing there. In other words, if Robert Woods just looks like he's just completely lost it, he's got nothing left, you got to be thinking about different things. If Roman Wilson looks like, oh man, did we blow it with this guy, you got to be thinking about different things. And so I've never had a problem with that approach. And I said that you're not going to find stuff out. You're not going to take care of business until you take care of your own business, meaning who you have in house. So for the Steelers to take that time, take these evaluation periods, and we're about to see a whole lot of these guys in real football settings, beginning a week from today in Jacksonville, Florida. And you can make a lot more solid, firm judgments about these guys. And then, go ahead and make your move or don't. But there's no reason to jump the gun on it.
No, there's no reason.
Taylor? Sorry, Chris. Adam jumps in with what I wanted to ask you here, which is, what about Roc Taylor? I mean, he's shown well.
He had another good day today. Actually, to the one point, he won a rep. I think it was against Deshaun Jameson, if I'm not mistaken, where he ran an in-breaking route to obviously the inside.
It was. I saw that in your reporting.
Yeah, and so he wins that, makes the catch. Zach Azzani runs up to him and gives him this big, gigantic hug and pats him on the helmet a few different times because he just loved everything about that particular rep. And that's cool to see. Knowing, or at least I would say truly like 100% knowing that they might not add somebody, but if they don't add anybody, yes, Roc Taylor has a much better chance of being a UDFA that makes the roster. Now, but you begin to do process of elimination when it comes to what they have at receiver currently. DK Metcalf's on the roster. He's obviously a lock. Calvin Austin's a lock. Roman Wilson's a lock. Ben Skoronek's a lock. I'm at 4. Those guys, locks for the roster. Then you start counting Scotty Miller, who would
Scotty Miller is where we've been drawing that line for a few weeks now.
And then you have Robert Woods. I mean, you're talking about, and then you're talking Roc Taylor might be receiver number 7 at best right now. Hard to say that he makes the roster, but again, we're a week away from the first preseason game.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot that can happen between now and then, whether it comes to performance, injuries could play a factor into that. And then when injuries play a factor into that, or if and when injuries play a factor into that, does that change the Steelers' stance on any kind of urgency to add somebody from the outside?
We're going to take a couple more questions today. Reggie asks, he says he'll be attending the game in Jacksonville. See, that's okay. You can say that you're attending. Just don't ask us if we are. How much do you think I'm teasing everybody here? Don't take me seriously. How much do you think Caleb Johnson and Will Howard will get to play? And he says also it'd be awesome to run into you guys. We will be really tough to find that day. What a day we've got. Our itinerary for Saturday. That's going to be a challenge. How much do you think Caleb Johnson and Will Howard are going to get to play? The answer to that is yes. They're going to play, and they're going to play a ton. Now, with Caleb, it's a little bit different because my belief is that in that game you'll have Mason Rudolph starting, you'll have Will Howard come in second, and then you might get a whole half of Skylar Thompson. Who knows how that goes? At the running back position, though, first of all, you don't want to over rep anybody, okay? Because it's a wear and tear position. But he needs to be lining up with the offense that matters. Okay, he needs to be lining up with the guys who can execute the wide zone blocking in particular, because that's what you need to get out of Caleb. You need to get him comfortable with the Arthur Smith offense. I don't know that that's got a chance of occurring in the third or fourth quarter of your first preseason game. I'd rather see both of these players that you mentioned get into the mix in the first half in some form.
Yes, I do think it wouldn't surprise me at all if Jaylen Warren doesn't start in this game, or even if he does one series and that be it for Warren. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I do think Caleb Johnson will play a good amount, but I do think it'll be primarily in the first half, and then after that, I would expect to see a heavy dose of Kenny Gainwell, Trey Sermon, and a lot of the Evan Hull, and a lot of the other running backs that are here in camp.
And we're down to our last two questions here. Our last one, actually. Yeah, I take that back. Slim says, hey, do you think that this offensive line is going to give Aaron Rodgers enough time to throw the ball to his targets? The biggest unknown right now out of everything in this mix is the same thing that's been the biggest unknown all along. And by the way, the same thing that'll be the biggest unknown when they take the field in the swamps against the other Jets, because there's just too many questions compared to the amount of answers that you have when it comes to not just Broderick Jones, because I know that's what's got everybody uptight, and it should. It's not just him. There's questions about pretty much everybody there, with a minimal amount on Isaac Seumalo and even less on Zach Frazier. But everybody else, you can make a list this long.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the one thing that you can say about the offensive line, or when it comes to protecting Aaron Rodgers, is that there will be a good amount of this passing game that is quick game stuff, where the ball comes out in well under 2 seconds. They're going to keep him up. I mean, this is not that bad of an offensive line where they can't keep him upright, where it's going to be less than 2 seconds and he's getting hit.
That's so big. I don't think that part's getting played up enough, maybe even including by us, Chris. Is this right? They might not matter all that much, at least not in terms of pass blocking.
So, but the one thing, you look at what this offense is going to be capable of. Okay, if they can run the football successfully, great. That can only help the passing game when it comes to how the defense has to defend. If they know they have to have the other guys step up or more guys step up so they can stop the run. When it comes to the passing game, the West Coast stuff, the quick game stuff, all the stuff like this is stuff Aaron Rodgers has ran before for years. He can do it. That stuff, if that can operate as a well-oiled machine, I think that's going to be fine. It's going to be when they want to attack intermediate and deep. Can the offensive line protect then? How consistently can they protect then? When Rodgers has to have 2.5 to 3 seconds, these 5-step drops, these 7-step drops, how can they protect on that stuff? Because a lot of the time, it's not just 5 steps, hit your 5th step, see your first read.
Right.
Because these are NFL defenses they're facing. You're facing the Ravens twice a year. You're facing some really good defenses. And so they're going to force you to have to go through your progressions. And Rodgers is very capable of doing it. But one thing that I saw watching the Jets last year was if he was getting hit early and often and having to be on the run, he would get he'd get gun shy. He'd be like, if my first read's not there, I'm checking it down. I'm not going to sit back here and get punished all day. So
That's it.
That's going to be the biggest question for me when it comes to the offensive line.
And you want to start off playing it safe. You just do. I'm sorry, especially against the lesser opponents they're going to be facing in the early going. Find a way to knock them over. Okay, anybody who's an offensive lineman at any level will tell you that the run blocking is simpler. Find a way to knock them over and get it done from there. Reggie thanks us for the timely reporting and for being here. Other way around, man. We thank you guys for being members. That's why we do the members only show like this. And we will be back with our regular programming on Monday. That'll be our double shot of Steelers in the afternoon. And of course, my daily shot podcasts in the morning and all the other stuff that we offer. Thanks for being members. You're the reason that we're able to do this and get it done right.
Yeah, this is awesome stuff. I'm so glad that we can have these members only shows. Continue to spread the word, man, because these memberships need to be growing. So get more and more people to. I mean, we could sit here. Literally, I write the story and I come on here to talk. I'm not going to Twitter. I'm not going anywhere else. We're coming to tell you guys about it.
Mm-hmm. See you guys Monday.